Hello friends, Jenkins Dota here, bringing you another Dota 2 video on behalf of DotaAlchemy.com, and this is going to be part of the How to Draft in Pubs video series. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about trump picks. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. Okay, so in Dota, what actually is a trump pick? So in this game, there exists a certain class of hero which you can pick if the enemy team does not have at least soft counters to it. And you're going to have an extremely high chance of winning the game, if not guaranteed. These are the heroes where if the enemy team picks them, you just let out this huge sigh and you attempt to prepare yourself for an extremely difficult game. To balance this out, however, Ice Frog has designed the game in a way where there usually exists extremely hard counters to these trump picks. Great examples of trump picks in the current meta are Huskar and Broodmother, because if you don't have a hard counter to either of these heroes, they're strong enough right now that you're in for a really miserable game, if not pretty much guaranteed to lose. So why does it matter? Why should you actually know what trump picks are? Why should you actually look into it? Okay, so the existence and acknowledgement of trump picks matters not only to people that are looking to win the free game by picking these heroes, but also to people who are going to be on the opposing end of such picks, or potentially on the opposing end. The former group of people, that is the people that are looking to pick these heroes, well, they should obviously care about trump picks because there are certain situations which you can last pick or second to last pick one of these heroes, and you're either going to have a completely uncontested game or you're going to force the enemy team into a situation where if they do decide to hard counter you, it completely annihilates their draft. For example, if you pick a Broodmother after seeing the enemy team's mid laner and their safe laner, then the enemy team has two options. Either they can lane the safe laner against your Broodmother and get crushed, or they can pick a solo safe laner that they haven't picked yet and run a tri-lane as an aggro tri-lane. But what if they have a weak aggro hero in terms of their carry, like a Spectre and Anti-Mage already? Or what if you have a very powerful defensive tri-lane on your team and you know that they're not going to lose to an aggro tri-lane? Then if you force the enemy team to pick in this way, you're making them choose between option one, either they lose because you have a free game as Broodmother, or two, they lose because they went aggro with something that's really dumb. And this is precisely why I like to refer to these picks as trump cards. If you've played any card games, there's a lot of trump cards. The Joker, if you're playing a lot of these games. As soon as you pick it, you've already trumped the enemy. They're forced into an extremely uncomfortable situation by virtue of your hero pick, and that's why it's powerful to know what these trumps are. On the other hand, we have the latter and larger group of people. That is, the people who may be on the opposing end of such picks, but are not necessarily going to be spamming these heroes or even picking these heroes themselves. These players and drafters should still be concerned with these heroes, their capabilities, and most importantly, what strong current meta heroes soft counter them. For example, Gyrocopter is an extremely strong current meta safe laner. Conveniently, Gyro also hard counters Broodmother to a large degree, and Huskar to an okay degree. Spectre, however, is a decent hero in the current meta that does nothing to a Brooder or Huskar. For this reason, Gyro should naturally have a slight edge in pick rate on Spectre just because Gyro prevents you from getting run over by a Huskar or a Broodmother in the game. That is, the best drafters will acknowledge strong trump picks and protect themselves against them by picking heroes that are not only strong in the current meta, but are also capable of dealing with these powerful trump picks that could be picked against them. Historically, there has been a relatively static group of trump picks, with heroes really only moving in and out of this list if they're completely broken to the point where they're moved out of this list because they're so good they're picked in every game, or with complete hero rework, so the hero just isn't a trump anymore because it just works differently. So right now, the trump picks are, and they've kind of been this for a few years now, Huskar, this is one of the #1 trump picks, because with Dazzle or Oracle, he's almost immortal. Against the right lineup, even without these supports, he can feel pretty immortal, particularly against magical damage. Meepo is another trump pick, because if you're against heroes that have very little AoE disable, then Meepo is completely capable of controlling the entire map and 1v5ing the enemy team with total impunity. Broodmother is another trump pick, because if you have no way of killing the Spiderlings, Broodmother will be able to kill you as many times as she likes when you enter her lane and take your tier 3 tower at 15 minutes or less. Enchantress is another trump pick, very popular hero right now, because if you lack a way to get through her untouchable passive, then she's going to be impossible to lane against, and you're going to lose to her 3 versus 1. Timbersaw is another trump pick, not picked all that much these days, but still as kind of a last pick sort of hero. Because if you pick a bunch of melee strength heroes and you cannot kill this Timbersaw through his reactive armor, he's going to proceed to crush the laning phase and then tank all of your towers until they die while threatening to do 1 billion damage to you if you do try to stop him. There's some heroes that can be trump picks but are also picked up in other scenarios right now, and some of these heroes are Storm Spirit, Drive Ranger, Alchemist, and Tinker. That's kind of the list that changes more so, these heroes that are okay in other scenarios but still can be a trump pick if you have no counter to them. Okay, so how do these heroes actually fit into pubs? Basically, if you can play trump heroes, then you can utilize the last few pick slots extremely effectively, as long as you're able to recognize the situations in which these heroes are going to flourish. On the other hand, knowing what heroes are trump picks will allow you to preemptively counter them with soft counters. For example, if you notice that your team lacks a lot of AoE disable, like you have none at all, and a Meepo or a Broodmother may be incoming because that's a role that hasn't been picked yet on the enemy team, then maybe you should pick an Earthshaker or a Sand King just to cover your bases so you're not going to lose that game for no reason. In either case, having these heroes in your repertoire will increase your win rate significantly given enough games. Remember that time that somebody last picked Broodmother and you lost in 15 minutes? Remember that Huskar spammer that ran at all of your towers and raxed you before 20 minutes? Never again, folks. It's kill or be killed out there in the MMR streets, boys, and either you be the trump yourself or you be the bane of his existence.